Welcome to Architectural Records and Professional Practices of the Services of King-Kambuf's Architecture Design Studios Issue on Practice Management, or PCM for short.
Today, we are really getting into it. We're taking a deep dive into a topic that, honestly, every single principal, project manager, and anyone who even dreams of owning a firm someday has to master.
Professional liability and insurance basics.
That's the one.
Absolutely. And, this whole corner of practice management, the risk, the contracts, the insurance, it's so often treated like this necessary evil. Something you just hand off to a broker and you just, hope for the best. It's dense, it's packed with jargon, and it's definitely not as exciting as, say, designing a beautiful building.
And that right there is the problem. That's the source of massive, sometimes firm-ending financial exposure. Our mission today is to demystify all of this. We want to cut through the confusion.
Basically a shortcut.
Exactly. A shortcut for you, the learner, to get fluent in this stuff. Because it's not just about knowing which policies exist. It's about understanding how architects actually get sued, how the insurance policies really respond, and maybe most importantly,
The proactive stuff?
the proactive, firm-wide habits that can dramatically cut down on claims and, the headaches of high premium.
Because it all comes back to the core of practice management, right? Managing your finances, understanding your risk, and planning the development of your practice.
Yep.
We're going to look at what protects your design services, what handles the physical risks of just running an office, and how these really technical terms, like the infamous claims-made policy, can make or break your firm in a crisis.
Okay, let's get into it. And we'll start with the simplest, most powerful way to think about managing all this risk.
So when a problem hits, and it could be a full-blown disaster or even just a scary letter from a lawyer, the very first thing you have to do is triage. You need to know which alarm to pull.
That's a perfect way to put it. Insurance carriers have a really rigid way of classifying risk. And if you can just get the simple two buckets mental model in your head, you can instantly see where the problem goes.
And that's the fundamental skill.
It's the absolute foundation of risk management. Okay, so bucket number one.
Let's define it.
Bucket one is third-party liability.
Meaning someone else.
Exactly. A claim where someone outside your firm, a client, a contractor, a person who got injured on site, is claiming that you caused them some kind of damage. The liability flows out from your firm to that injured third party.
And the big policies that live in this bucket are the ones we hear about all the time. Professional liability, or PL.
Or E&O, errors and omissions.
Right. And commercial general liability, CGL. And if you lose that lawsuit, the policy pays the other person, the third party.
Correct. And crucially, these claims are usually about some kind of alleged failure. A failure in your design, a failure to keep your office safe, something you did or didn't do that caused harm.
Okay, that's bucket one. So what's in bucket number two?
Bucket number two is completely different. It's first-party loss.
So this is about damage to the firm itself.
Exactly. This is the financial hit that your own firm suffers directly. You are the first party getting hurt here. This bucket is all about protecting your own stuff, your assets, your property, your ability to operate.
So like an office fire that wipes out your servers, or someone breaks in and steals all your computers, a direct loss to your business.
Perfect examples. And increasingly, the really big first-party loss is digital. Think about a ransomware attack that encrypts all your project files. Your business literally stops.
For weeks, maybe.
That's a first-party loss. And the policies that respond are things like property insurance for the physical stuff and the really critical first-party parts of a cyber liability policy.
So that makes the distinction pretty clear. Third party is external claims against you. First party is internal damage to you.
Yeah.
But where does it get messy? Where do the lines blur?
The lines get blurry when the type of damage, let's say bodily injury, could theoretically fall into either bucket. This is the number one point of confusion.
Okay, give me an example.
A client slips and falls on a wet floor in your lobby.
Okay, that feels like a CGL claim. It happened on your premises.
Yeah.
An operational accident.
Precisely. CGL. Now, what if a person slips and falls on a ramp you designed because you specified a material that gets incredibly slick when wet?
Ah, that's different. That's a design error.
It's a professional failure. And therefore, it's a professional liability claim, a PL claim.
So the skill, then, is to immediately identify the root cause. Was it a failure of the professional product, the drawings, the specs, or a failure of the firm's general operation?
And getting that right dictates the next critical step, timely notification. If you call the wrong insurance carrier or you waste weeks trying to figure it out, You could violate the reporting conditions of the correct policy.
And they can deny coverage.
They could deny coverage entirely. It all starts with putting the problem in the right bucket right away.
Okay, we have the classification system down. So let's look under the hood of those big third-party policies, the big three that every architect has to deal with.
Right. These are the ones that cover your operational, your design, and your personnel risks. It's the essential toolkit for anyone managing a practice.
Let's start with the big one, the cornerstone, professional liability, PL or E&O.
This is your design judgment protection. It's the policy that's specifically designed to cover claims that you were negligent, that you made an error, or had an omission in your architectural services.
So it's about the standard of care. Did you act like a reasonably prudent architect would? And it covers your core job, right?
Yeah.
Design, documents, construction administration.
All of it. And the source material has this fantastic list. It's basically the How Architects Get Sued list. These are the little daily failures that can blow up into huge lawsuits.
Let's go through a few. Design coordination misses. I feel like this is a huge one.
It's incredibly common and so expensive. It's not one bad detail, it's the failure of the whole system to work together. For instance, you design a gorgeous custom light fixture, but you forget to check the mechanical drawings, and the main HVAC duct runs right through where it's supposed to be mounted.
And boom, there's a change order, a delay, and an angry client.
Exactly. Or what about using the wrong detail or a code interpretation mistake? I mean, these can be life safety issues.
For sure. Misreading the code on fire separation or an accessible egress path. That's a direct threat to public safety.
Or you pull a standard roof flashing detail from an old project and use it in a high wind zone without thinking. That's a failure of care. That's negligence.
We also see a ton of problems around communication. Failure to communicate issues and spec ambiguity.
This happens all the time. You tell the civil engineer on the phone to change a grading slope, but you forget to email a confirmation. The drawings go out with the old wrong slope. That's on you.
It's a failure to document.
And spec ambiguity is just as dangerous. Your spec says standard finish on some steel, but you're in a corrosive coastal environment. You didn't define the specific coating system needed.
So the contractor installs the cheapest thing possible, it rusts in 2 years, and you get the claim.
Yep. And finally, the big one, negligent construction administration. This is where the risk is highest for most firms.
Why is that?
Because you're in the field dealing with the reality of construction with constant changes. Negligent CA is when you fail to do your due diligence. You review a submittal for the curtain wall system, and you miss that it only has a 2-hour fire rating when the code requires 3.
And now that error is physically built into the building. It's a massive problem.
And it falls squarely on your PL policy.
Okay, so that's what PL does cover. But just as important is what it avoids covering. This is where firms get into trouble by taking on risk they shouldn't.
Your PL policy is not a blank check. It protects you when you make a mistake, a professional error. It does not protect you when you make a business promise you can't control.
Things like guarantees or warranties.
Exactly. If your contract says, we guarantee the project will be done by October 1st, you've just taken on a business risk. Your PL carrier hates that. They ensure professional judgment, not your ability to predict the construction market.
And the most dangerous trap of all is the indemnification clause. We really need to spend a minute here. This can bankrupt a firm.
Okay, so indemnification is your promise to protect the owner from harm. A standard insurable clause, like in the AIA documents, says you'll indemnify the owner only to the extent your own negligence caused the harm.
Which makes sense. It lines up perfectly with your PL policy, which pays for your negligence.
But what happens when the owner's lawyer slips in a clause that says you have to indemnify them for any and all damages, regardless of who's at fault?
That sounds bad.
It's catastrophic. You've just accepted what's called blanket liability. Let's say a crane drops a beam. The contractor is 90% at fault, but your contract says you have to cover all the damages.
So you're on the hook for the contractor's 90% mistake.
Potentially, yes. And your PL carrier will say, look, we cover your negligence, we'll pay for your 10% share, but that extra 90% you contractually agreed to, that's on you.
So the hard rule is never, ever accept liability that goes beyond your own professional negligence.
It's an absolute line in the sand for contract hygiene.
Okay, let's move to CGL, commercial general liability. If PL covers the design, the intellectual product,
then CGL covers the physical world, the risks of running an office, visiting a job site. It's for bodily injury and property damage from non-professional hazards.
Let's make that distinction really concrete.
Okay, the classic CGL claim is the slip and fall. A client comes to your office, trips on a frayed rug, breaks their arm. That's a physical accident on your property. CGL pays the medical bills.
Or your employee is at a job site and knocks over some valuable sculpture.
Perfect. That's non-professional property damage. CGL covers it.
But I've heard architects get confused here. They think if a bad drawing leads to, say, water damage, isn't that property damage? Shouldn't CGL respond?
It is property damage, but what was the cause? Almost every CGL policy has a big, bold professional services exclusion.
Well, what does that say?
It says the policy will not cover any bodily injury or property damage that arises out of your professional services, your design, your specs, your CA work. Though the mold damage was caused by your bad waterproofing detail, a professional failure.
So CGL says, not my problem, and it pushes the claim right back over to the PL policy.
Exactly. That exclusion ensures there's no overlap. CGL handles operations, PL handles design. Full stop.
Okay, and the third policy in the big three is pretty straightforward, but you can't practice without it. Workers' compensation.
This covers medical bills and lost wages for your employees if they get hurt doing their job. Your site rep falls off a ladder, an employee gets carpal tunnel from drafting all day. Workers' comp pays.
And it's mandatory, right?
It's a statutory requirement in basically every state if you have employees. If you don't carry it, you're facing huge state penalties, and you could be personally on the hook for an injured employee's medical bills for life. It's a non-starter.
Okay, let's get into the really tricky parts of professional liability. Stuff about time and money that can really, really hurt a firm if they don't understand it.
This is where we separate the pros from the amateurs in practice management.
Let's start with the time trap. Claims made versus occurrence.
Right. So most insurance you're familiar with, like your car insurance or CGL, is an occurrence policy. If the accident happens during the policy year, you're covered, even if you file the claim 2 years later.
But PL is different.
PL is almost always claims made, and this is the critical difference. For the policy to respond, two things have to happen during the current policy period. The claim has to be made against you, and you have to report it to your carrier.
So let's walk through that. I do drawings for a project in 2015. It gets built in 2017. The owner finds a huge problem and sues me in 2024. Which policy pays? The one from 2015 or the one I have now?
The one you have now in 2024. Because that's when the claim was made and reported. Your old 2015 policy is irrelevant.
Wow. Okay, that makes the retroactive date on my current policy incredibly important.
It is the single most important date on your policy.
Yeah.
It's the line in the sand. It's the earliest date that your work could have been performed and still be covered by your current policy.
So if my 2024 policy has a retro date of, say, January 1st, 2020, and that claim from my 2015 project comes in,
you have zero coverage. Even though you're paying for a policy today, the work was done before the retroactive date. You're completely exposed.
that seems terrifying, especially for firms that switch insurance carriers or, oh my God, when firms merge.
Mergers are a minefield for this. Firm A has a retro date of 1995. Firm B has one from 2005. When they merge, they have to make absolutely sure the new combined policy keeps that earlier 1995 date. If they mess up and only keep the 2005 date,
All of Firm A's work from 1995 to 2005 is now uninsured.
a huge, potentially devastating gap in coverage.
And this leads right into the need for tail coverage. What happens when you retire or dissolve the firm?
Well, when you cancel your claims-made policy, the coverage just stops. But clients can still sue you for years after, based on the statute of repose in your state.
Often 7 to 10 years.
Right. So if a claim comes in after you've canceled your policy, you're personally exposed. Tail coverage is a one-time purchase you make when you stop practicing. It buys you an extended period, say 7 years, to report claims that come up from your past work. It's essential.
So if you're a principal thinking about retiring, forgetting to buy the tail means your retirement savings are on the line for the next decade.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the money structure, the deductible and the defense limits.
Deductible seems simple. It's what you pay first.
It is, but there's a nuance. You have to check if your deductible applies just to the settlement, the indemnity, or if it applies to the legal fees, the defense costs as well.
So you could be writing checks to the lawyers from day one just to meet your deductible.
You could. Now, for the most financially painful concept in a big lawsuit, defense inside versus outside limits.
This sounds important.
It determines how fast your insurance money disappears. If your policy has defense outside limits, that's the gold standard. It means your $1 million policy limit is reserved just for paying the settlement. The insurance company pays all the legal fees on top of that limit.
But that's not the norm for PL, is it?
No. The reality is usually defense inside limits, and that means the clock is ticking against your own safety net.
Explain that.
With defense inside limits, every single dollar spent on your legal defense, the attorney's fees, expert witnesses, everything, is subtracted directly from your total policy limit.
So the lawyers are literally eating your maximum payout.
That's the perfect analogy. They are eating the ceiling. The carrier has a fixed maximum exposure, say $1 million, that has to cover both the lawyers and the settlement.
So if a complicated case drags on and the legal bills hit, say, $400,000, your $1 million policy is now effectively a $600,000 policy before you even talk about settling.
Precisely, which is why some firms in high-risk sectors will pay a much higher premium to get defense outside limits. It protects the integrity of their settlement fund.
Let's make this real. Let's use the numbers from the source material to show how this erosion actually works.
Good idea. This takes it from theory to, oh, wow, that's what I'd have to write a check for.
Okay, here's the setup. You have a PL policy with a $1 million limit, and it's defense inside limits. Your deductible is $25,000. The lawsuit has been going on for a while, and the legal bills, the defense costs, are now at $220,000.
A very realistic number for a complex claim.
And now your lawyers come to you and say, we should settle this. The proposed settlement is $850,000.
Okay, first step is to calculate the total cost of this claim. What's the full bill?
Right, so step one, total claim cost. That's the defense costs, $220,000, plus the settlement, $850,000, which comes to $1,070,000.
And right away, you see the problem. The total cost is more than your $1 million policy limit.
Exactly. The defense costs ate up too much of the policy. So step two, calculate the shortfall. The total cost of $1,070,000 minus your $1 million limit, that leaves a $70,000 shortfall.
And that's the first check the firm has to write. That's money coming straight out of the firm's bank account because the policy limit was exhausted.
But you're not done paying yet. You still owe your deductible.
Right. Step three, the deductible. The firm has to pay that first $25,000.
So the final painful math. The firm's total out-of-pocket cost is the $70,000 shortfall plus the $25,000 deductible.
For a grand total of $95,000.
And that is just a brutal lesson. Even with a $1 million policy, the firm is still on the hook for nearly $100,000. It shows you why understanding defense inside limits is not optional. It's survival.
It absolutely is. And while the big three policies are the main event, there's a whole supporting cast of other policies that modern firms need to close other gaps.
Let's talk about umbrella or excess liability policies. The idea is simple, right? It's just extra limits on top of your other policies.
It sits on top of your CGL, your commercial auto, and your employer's liability. If you have a massive slip and fall claim that goes over your CGL limit, the umbrella kicks in.
But here's the critical trap, the one that shows up on exams and in real life. An umbrella policy almost never sits on top of your professional liability.
This is such an important distinction. The risks are completely different from an underwriter's perspective. CGL risk is about physical hazards. PL risk is about your professional judgment. They are calculated in totally separate ways.
So if you want higher PL limits, you can't just buy a big general umbrella policy and assume you're covered.
No, you have to buy a specific excess PL policy from a carrier that underwrites professional risk. It's a dangerous and very common assumption to make.
Okay, what about cyber liability? Why are architecture firms such big targets?
Because we're in the middle of huge streams of money, we send and receive massive invoices.
Yeah.
We handle payment instructions for consultants. Criminals know this.
And they target the firm with things like invoice fraud.
Exactly. They hack into an email account, intercept a real invoice from your structural engineer, change the bank account number, and tell your client to send $500,000 to the wrong account.
And suddenly the firm is in the middle of a lawsuit.
Yep. So your cyber policy has to cover two things. First-party costs. That's paying for forensics to see how they got in, maybe paying the ransom, covering your lost income while your systems are down.
And third party.
And third-party costs, which is defending you when the client or consultant sues you for letting their money get stolen because your security failed.
Okay, another one. EPLI. Employment Practices Liability Insurance.
This is all about the people side of your business. It protects the firm from HR-related claims.
Wrongful termination, discrimination, harassment.
All of it. And even if a claim has no merit, the cost to just defend it is astronomical. You have to hire specialized lawyers. EPLI covers those defense costs and any potential settlement. It's a must-have for any firm with employees.
And lastly, a practical one. Hired and non-owned auto.
Right. Most firms don't have a fleet of company cars. Your staff is using their personal vehicles for site visits and client meetings.
So what happens if they get in a huge accident while on company time?
Their personal auto policy might run out of limits fast.
Yeah.
Hired and non-owned auto provides a layer of liability protection for the firm in that exact scenario. It closes a really common operational gap.
Okay, we've spent a lot of time on what happens when things go wrong. Let's shift to prevention. The proactive defense.
This is the good stuff. This is the practice management gold. This is, hands down, the cheapest and most effective insurance you can possibly buy.
This is about building a culture of vigilance, and starts at the very beginning with the contract. Contract hygiene.
Your risk starts the second you sign that agreement. And the first rule is define your scope precisely.
You can't just be vague.
Vagueness is a killer. You have to document not just what you're doing, but your assumptions. And most importantly, you need a list of exclusions. Geotechnical engineering is not included. FF&E for the tenant spaces is excluded.
If you don't draw the line, the client will assume it's included, and you'll end up doing the work for free.
And the courts will almost always side with them. Second rule, avoid uncontrolled promises. Never, ever promise an outcome you cannot personally control.
So no saying, we guarantee the project will be on budget.
Never. You say the design is based on the provided budget. You can design to a budget, but you can't guarantee a construction price. That's up to the market and the contractor.
And we talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. Indemnification control is non-negotiable.
You have to redline any clause that makes you liable for someone else's negligence. Your liability has to be tied directly to your own errors, period.
Finally, what about the silent killer? Scope creep.
The claim incubator. This is when you're doing extra work without documenting it or getting paid for it. People get tired, they cut corners, mistakes happen.
So you have to define the triggers for additional services right in the contract.
Absolutely. If the client asks for a sixth design iteration or construction takes 4 months longer than planned, your contract needs to give you the mechanism to document that change in scope and fee.
Okay, next habit. QA/QC as a system, not a mood.
Quality control can't be something you do if you have time. It has to be a mandatory, systematized ritual.
This means structured review, checklists at each milestone, SD, DD, CDs.
And the most important part of that is independent peer review, the fresh eyes approach. The person who's been staring at that detail for a month can't see the mistake anymore. You need a senior person who is not on the project to come in and look for problems.
And you need coordination rituals.
Mandatory checks. Overlaying your drawings with the MEP and structural drawings to look for clashes. Doing a pass to make sure your specs actually match what's shown on the drawings. These things have to be built into the process.
I love this idea from the source material. The red flag library.
This is how you weaponize your past mistakes for future good. It's a database where the firm documents its failures. Not just, we had a leaky roof, but which waterproofing transition failed, why it failed, and what the fix was.
So the next time a PM starts a project with a similar condition, they have to consult the library, and they know exactly what to look out for.
It turns ad hoc memory into institutional knowledge.
The third proactive habit, documentation discipline.
If a claim happens 5 years from now, nobody will remember what was said in a meeting. The paper trail is the only truth.
Starting with mandatory minutes, and they can't just be a summary.
No. A bad minute says discussed flooring. A good minute says owner directed the change to flooring B architect to issue an addendum. Owner acknowledges a potential 3-week schedule impact. It assigns responsibility.
And the most important reflexive habit for every single person in the firm.
Confirm verbal direction in writing. Always. You get off the phone with a contractor, you immediately send an email, per our call, confirming you can substitute material X. That email is now the record.
And finally, tracking administration. Your RFI and submittal logs.
You have to be rigorous. If a contractor asks a critical question in an RFI and it takes your firm 6 weeks to answer, you've just been negligent. The logs prove your diligence and timeliness.
Okay, the last proactive habit is a cultural one. An early reporting culture.
This is where fear can lead to terrible decisions. Your PL policy requires you to report problems early.
And you're talking about reporting a potential problem, right? A circumstance, not waiting for the lawsuit.
Exactly. The second you realize a detail you designed is failing on site, you have an obligation to notify your carrier. They want to know early. They can help you manage the problem before it explodes. It's cheaper for them and better for you.
So the worst possible move is to try and hide the problem and fix it on the sly.
That is the recipe for getting your claim denied. Late notification is a violation of your policy conditions. The carrier can argue that you prejudiced their ability to manage the claim, and they can walk away. Transparency protects your coverage.
Let's put all of this into practice with the case study from the source material, the flooring substitution claim.
Okay, the context. It's a fast-track medical clinic renovation. High pressure, high risk. The owner is pushing for value engineering, which means pressure to use cheaper materials.
And the problem? The contractor suggests a substitute flooring. The architect is rushed, approves it, but misses a critical detail. The new material doesn't meet the required slip resistance for an accessible ramp landing.
The clinic opens, a patient slips on that ramp, gets seriously injured, and sues. The owner immediately points the finger at the architect for approving an unsafe, non-compliant material.
Okay, first question. Triage. Which bucket? Which policy?
This is a textbook professional services failure. The injury happened because of a failure in the architect's professional judgment during CA review. This is 100% a professional liability, PL, claim. CGL is not involved.
So what does the competent architect's playbook say to do now? What are the immediate steps?
Step 1. Stabilize the record. Immediately pull all the documents, the original spec, the contractor submittal request, and your stamped approval. You need to know exactly where the error occurred.
Step 2. Notify the right parties.
Yeah.
You tell the owner you're investigating, but privately and immediately, you fill out an incident report and notify your PL carrier. Now, before it gets any worse.
Step 3, and this is the ethical priority. Separate safety from liability. Who is at fault can be argued later. Right now, that ramp is a danger. You have to recommend immediate mitigation to the owner, put down non-slip mats, put up signs, protect the public.
Public welfare comes first.
Always. Step 4. Determine responsibility paths. Was it your mistake? Did the contractor misrepresent the product? Did the owner force the change over your objections? The lawyers will help figure out how to apportion the blame.
Step 5. Corrective work. Any fix has to be done through formal contract documents, a change directive, a change order. You have to document the scope and cost of the fix.
And finally, step 6. Prevent recurrence. You take this painful lesson and you build it into your system. You update your QA/QC checklist to add a mandatory line item. Verify slip resistance criteria on all accessible routes.
That's a perfect summary of how a single error triggers a whole professional and ethical response.
It connects all the dots of practice management.
Okay, as we wrap up, let's revisit that quick triage tool one more time and talk about a really tough ethical case.
Let's lock it in. The 2-question trick for real life.
Question 1. Did the problem come from a professional judgment error? A bad drawing? A missed code item? If yes, it's the PL lane.
Question 2. Did it come from your physical operations? A slip and fall in your office, an employee damaging property? If yes, it's the CGL lane. And if it's an injured employee, straight to workers' comp.
Got it. Now, for the ethical corner case, your team finds a definite major code violation in a design set, say, the stair headroom is too low. The project manager is under a crazy deadline and suggests, let's just leave it. Maybe the city reviewer won't catch it.
This is a moment of truth.
So what is the correct standard of care response? Why is it so non-negotiable?
Because of your primary duty to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. Hiding a known life safety violation like that moves you from simple negligence and accident to reckless, potentially fraudulent behavior.
It's intentional.
It's intentional concealment. And if that stair gets built and someone gets hurt and that internal discussion comes out during discovery, your firm is indefensible, the liability becomes astronomical.
This is what you call career-grade liability.
Absolutely. Insurance covers errors. It doesn't cover intentional misconduct. The only path, ethically and legally, is to escalate, correct the drawings, and deal with the consequences transparently. Hiding a code violation is the fastest way to turn a small problem into a multi-million-dollar uncovered nightmare.
So the ultimate lesson here is that ethical rigor is the most powerful form of risk management.
Without a doubt.
We've covered a ton today. The 2 risk buckets, the nuances of claims-made policies, the painful reality of defense inside limits, and those crucial rec habits: contract hygiene, QA/QC, and documentation.
And to help you really make this stick, we have 3 action items for you, the learner, to take away from this discussion.
First, build that triage muscle. Write a 1-page which policy responds cheat sheet for yourself. Focus on that PL versus CGL distinction.
Second, look at your own systems. Draft a submittal review checklist for your firm that specifically calls out performance criteria, slip resistance, fire ratings, things like that, so you don't repeat the mistakes we talked about.
And third, master the time traps. Make flashcards for the key claims-made concepts. Retro date, tail coverage, timely notice, and that big one, defense inside limits.
And the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Your insurance policy is a financial backstop. It's necessary. But it's not your best protection. The best protection is your professional discipline. The discipline to document everything, to communicate clearly, and to correct problems transparently and early. That protects your reputation and your firm's future far more than any insurance carrier ever could.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the architectural records and professional practices of the services of King-Kambuf's Architecture Design Studios issue on practice management. We'll see you next time on Beyond the Comfort Zone.